Welcome everyone to our webinar. Today our topic is the NSF ATE Program funding opportunities and the Mentor-Connect orientation. I'm your host, Mike Lasecki. As I mentioned in the run-up to this webinar, the webinar will be recorded. In fact, I've turned on the recording button now. We'll automatically send you a link to that recording by email in a few days. Please use the chat window today. We'll accumulate questions as we go through the webinar, and we'll have plenty of time at the end to address those questions. There are two handouts for today's webinar in the middle right of your screen. You can download them anytime at your convenience. It'll take you to a new browser window. Please come back from that browser window. One last thing. As we get started today, I want to acknowledge our host for this webinar series, ATE Central. ATE Central is the information hub for the ATE community, atecentral.net. Let's go ahead and look at our introduction screen. Joining us today is Elaine Kraft. She's the principal investigator of the Mentor-Connect grant. Elaine, you're the lead for today's webinar. Will you please take over and get us started, introduce your colleagues?
Thanks, Mike. It is my pleasure to introduce the Mentor-Connect team members who will be joining me for today's webinar. Ellen House from the American Association of Community Colleges is a co-PI. Emery DeWitt at Florence Darlington Technical College in South Carolina is both a co-PI and she is the Mentor-Connect project manager. Osa Brand, now retired from the National Council for Geographic Education, is a member of the Mentor-Connect leadership team in a senior personnel role. Osa also serves as a Mentor-Connect mentor, and she is leading the implementation of new Mentor-Connect mentoring services. Although not speaking on today's webinar, there are others who make Mentor-Connect possible. Co-PI Rick Roberts, Co-PI Dennis Faber, Communications and Technology Specialist Tanisha Ferguson, and External Evaluator David Hatta. In addition to these key contributors, each year we have a cadre of exceptional individuals who serve as mentors for this initiative. Our 2018-2019 mentors will be recognized later in this webinar. Now I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Ann Behaler, who will kick off our program today. Ann is Executive Director of Emerging Technology Grants at Collin County Community College in Texas. She is a longtime and very successful ATE principal investigator who is currently leading two large ATE-funded initiatives, the National Convergence Technology Center and a large project to develop information technology skill standards for 2020 and beyond. In addition, she has been a Mentor-Connect mentor since 2013. She has thorough understanding of the ATE program and how prospective grantees can position themselves for success with their ATE grant proposals. She's joining us today to orient you to the National Science Foundation and the Advanced Technological Education Program, referred to more simply as NSF and ATE. Now, before turning the program over to Ann, I'd like to take a quick look at the agenda for today's webinar. The agenda is made up of two parts. The first part provides a look at the National Science Foundation, the ATE program at NSF, and funding opportunities within the ATE program. As we move forward, please know that none of us are speaking officially for the National Science Foundation, and the opinions we express are our own. After the NSF and ATE overview, we will outline the Mentor-Connect opportunity. You will learn how to apply for special help with preparing and submitting a competitive grant proposal to the ATE program. All of the dates, deadlines, and contact information needed to take advantage of this opportunity will be provided. Mentor-Connect offers a high level of technical assistance and mentoring to those who qualify for a funding track called Small Grants for institutions new to ATE. If selected to participate, we will help you prepare a competitive proposal for submission to the ATE program in October 2020. Note that we are not targeting the October 2019 proposal deadline that is just around the corner. We believe that preparing a really good grant proposal is something like having a baby. It takes about 9 months to get it right. While today's webinar focuses on potential grantees who are new to ATE, services and resources that Mentor-Connect provides can help any prospective ATE grantee, and Mentor-Connect has added services in recent months for other types of potential ATE grantees. The Mentor-Connect cohort mentoring we will describe today provides the highest level of assistance for preparing an ATE proposal. As we go through the webinar, keep in mind that if your college is not eligible for this particular opportunity, or if your college already has ATE funding, Mentor-Connect offers other forms of support that can help you develop stronger, correctly prepared proposal to improve your chances of funding. Now, I'll turn the program over to Dr. Behaler. Hello, Anne, and welcome.
Thank you, Elaine. Whoops, sorry. I am pinch hitting today for Dr. Celeste Carter at the National Science Foundation because she was unable to be with us. However, I will say again and emphasize again that what I say are my opinions. They are not representing NSF directly. However, I have been working very integrally with the National Science Foundation ATE program for almost 20 years, and most recently led a project called the Centers Collaborative for Technical Assistance, and we also helped a lot of people write competitive grants during the time period. The National Science Foundation is a research agency in the federal government. The ATE program is one of only one or two that are supported by congressional bills, and this particular program focuses on the U.S. workforce. It's not necessarily focusing on what I like to call capital R research, but rather on applied research. And this gives you an idea where the program is positioned. It is actually a part of the undergraduate education area in the EHR division. So it's a little piece of a very big agency, but a very important piece. So how would you find out information about the ATE program? Well, you'd go to www.nsf.gov, and over in the search box you can put in either ATE or 18-571. Well, that may sound like kind of I don't know, an interesting code. However, that is the number of the latest solicitation that tells you all about what you have to do to submit a competitive grant. The 2018 solicitation, and you'll notice the 18 actually does mean it came out in 2018, is a 3-year solicitation that has due dates in 18, 19, and 20. And the due date this year happens to be October 3rd. There are some changes in the current solicitation from the previous one. It changes the funding duration and the size of awards on the centers track, but you'll also see under the centers area, when we get to it in a few slides, that that's probably not the place that you want to start if you're wanting to receive ATE funding. It usually requires having a history of success with projects before one gets to the point of applying for a center. It also changes the maximum budget for various projects. The budgets range from $300,000 to $600,000 total, split up over usually mostly 3 years. There also are some additional focus areas in this particular solicitation. Adaptation and implementation, that's for adapting something that another group has put together. And instrumentation acquisition is especially important. Sometimes one of the things we have the most difficulty with is getting the money to buy the equipment that industry says that we need to have to teach our technical programs. There also is a change to the requirements for small new to ATE grants. It lets institutions that have not received an ATE award in the past 7 years apply in this particular area, again based on original funding date. And this is the focus of the base Mentor-Connect program, is helping people who are wanting to do these small new to ATE grants. Also new with this solicitation, there's a high emphasis on having open source learning materials. And one thing to remember all the way through is that the proposals need to be in compliance with the solicitation and also with the National Science Foundation Proposal and Award Policies and Procedures Guide. That's a mouthful. We call it the PAPPG. And typically there is a new version of this guideline that comes out every January, and the current version is 19-1. I will note now, and may say even again, that if the solicitation says that you can do a particular item, such as provide commitment letters from your employers, but the PAPPG says you can't, the solicitation actually trumps the PAPPG. So you would go with what the solicitation says. Now, let's talk about the ATE program itself. It focuses on educating highly qualified science and engineering technicians for advanced technological fields in the nation's economy. Community colleges must have leadership roles on all projects. It can work for pathways, supporting pathways from the 7th grade up through community college and then on into four-year institutions. And one of the things that's very important is that there be strong partnerships with industry and economic development entities, and that we know that there are really going to be jobs there for whatever is being proposed in the proposal. To look at this diagram, which is somewhat confusing, let's go down the middle first for the ATE centers. As I said, we do not suggest that an institution start with a center proposal. There are a couple of types of center proposals available, but let's put that on the back burner for you to consider going for after having several projects. Over on the left-hand side, standard ATE projects are up to $600,000 and up to 3 years, and that's the total is $600,000 split over the 3 years or perhaps 2 years. Also, we talked about the adapt and implement projects. The numbers for that are $300,000 to $400,000, and that's usually over 3 years as well. Instrumentation acquisition, that's also $400,000 to $500,000 and over about 3 years. The Mentor-Connect project, base project, focuses on the small grants that are new for institutions new to ATE. And again, that means that they haven't had a grant in 7 years from the start of the last one, if they ever had one at all. And it's up to $300,000, again, spread over 3 years. You may think that's not a lot of money, but it actually is a lot of money to get started on projects that you're interested in doing. Then over on the right-hand side, there's targeted research and technician education. And the money for that is $150,000 up to $800,000 over about 3 years. Now, projects. They can be as low as $200,000 up to $600,000, and they can focus on a lot of different things. This is not an exhaustive list. What I suggest is that what's here is what most people put in their proposals. It's always a good idea to put your ideas together and write them down and put them in a document to send to the program officers to get their input as to whether your idea is a good one and whether it fits in the ATE program. So let's look at this. We can develop programs. We can implement those programs and improve programs. We also need to provide for professional development for educators, because our educators are teaching most of their working career, and it's difficult for them to self-teach to keep up with technician changes. In the technical field, changes are rapid, especially in areas such as manufacturing and IT and cybersecurity. The changes are rapid and require a great deal of re-education. We can create curriculum, and we can create all sorts of educational materials to go with that curriculum. We can prepare teachers. The small grants, those projects, about $300,000 again. Adaptation and implementation, $300,000 to $400,000 over 2 to 3 years. Instrumentation with curriculum updates. The project that is for instrumentation does not allow you to just buy the equipment. without other curriculum updates going with it, because of course with new equipment the curriculum would need to be updated as well. Then there's the ATE Coordination Network of up to $600,000 over 3 years. And one other thing that I find really, really important, especially in what we call the gig economy, is that it is appropriate to have an entrepreneurial emphasis on your project as well, because many of the people that you train and graduate will end up being independent contractors. Now, how many people get funded? That's a very common question. That varies. The rate is influenced by the dollars that are available to this program each year, and that changes from year to year. The number of proposals received that are worthy of being funded, and the types of proposals, the funding tracks. You can get an idea of the types of proposals that are requested in the solicitation, but all this is to say is that we can't tell you really a full funding rate. Some advice from the program officers. I'm going to really emphasize number one here, read the solicitation. Now, I'm not saying read it as something that's just kind of a casual read like a novel. I suggest to the people that I mentor that they read it and outline it and read it again, and then sit down with the people that are on the project who have hopefully done exactly the same thing and make sure they fully understand what the solicitation is saying. Many of the questions that you'll come up with may actually be answered in that solicitation, but you might not have caught it on the first read through. Make sure too that you choose the right program track. If your project really is targeted research, it would probably be appropriate to put it in under targeted research as opposed to putting it in as a regular project. Again, you can get help on that by working with the program officer on a 1 to 2 page summary of your project to make sure that they understand what you're doing and also to get their input on what they think of it. Do start early, as Elaine said. It's kind of like having a baby. 9 months is a good number. I would say that it can be done in somewhat less than 9 months, but I certainly wouldn't, for example, start now to try to put a proposal in on October 3rd. That would be suicide. I definitely would not do that. Also note that faculty need to drive the concept and the work plan for the project. That does not mean that you don't have support personnel that may be helping with mentoring students or tutoring students or helping with the reporting, but the faculty do need to drive the overall project. Get help. I already mentioned sending a 1 to 2 page summary to the program officers. And there again, I would do that no later than spring of the year that you're expecting to submit. Don't try to send that to them over the summer. It's getting too late at that point. Also, Mentor-Connect is an incredible resource. Even if you don't apply to be a part of the Mentor-Connect cohorts, there is an incredible resource library available that answers lots of different questions. Plus, the project and center PIs for existing grants are the most giving people that I've ever met. They're extremely good at answering your questions, and if they don't know the answer, they probably know who might know the answer. So be sure to use these various sources of help so that your proposal is extremely competitive. Again, be alert to the guidelines in the PAPPG and in the solicitation. And one thing I will say, that on the due date, you must fully submit your proposal by 5 p.m. your local time. If it goes in at 5:01, or if you try to put it in at 5:01, you won't be able to do that. And the program officers won't ever know that you even tried. So with that, it's an exciting project or group to be involved with, or a program to be involved with, and I hope you will consider writing a proposal for the ATE strand within the National Science Foundation. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to Elaine.
Thanks, Anne. We really appreciate your ATE expertise. Now,
You're welcome.
before telling you how you can get help in preparing an ATE proposal, we have a question for you. Mike, will you please launch the poll? Well, thank you so much for responding. It looks like we have a really nice mix in the audience today, and every single person in each of those roles can be vitally important to pulling together a successful ATE proposal. Now, Mike, you can close the poll and we'll talk about Mentor-Connect. You might ask, why has the National Science Foundation ATE program funded Mentor-Connect? One reason is that too few technical and community colleges have benefited from NSF funding. When Mentor-Connect was initially funded in 2012, only about 1/3 of community colleges in the country had received one or more NSF grant awards. That left 2/3, or 800 or so, two-year colleges without. Changing these statistics is one of Mentor-Connect's goals. Some who managed to secure a first new to ATE grant struggled to be successful with a second grant submission, or with moving up, as we call it. What many new to ATE grantees don't understand is that proposals in the ATE projects track require some modification in strategy in order to be successful. Proposals submitted in the new to ATE track are only competing against others who are new to ATE. Another thing that happens is that submitted proposals are not funded. This happens more often than not. At NSF, this is referred to as a decline. Universities are accustomed to submitting a large number of proposals, most of which are declined, in order to have a few funded each year. For community colleges, however, perhaps only one proposal was submitted, and when it is declined, it is devastating. Too few community colleges are willing to try again, so they just drop out before becoming truly successful in the ATE program. As you have no doubt discovered, it is very challenging to win a grant award. Requirements are constantly changing, and competition is stiff. Community college faculty typically have little, if any, experience in generating grant proposals, but successful ATE proposals are driven by faculty vision and faculty understanding of how to improve technician education. Not every community college even has a grant writer, or a grant writer who is familiar with NSF funding and proposal procedures. Prior to Mentor-Connect, there were very few places where a prospective grantee could get help. So, while the nation desperately needs the highly skilled technicians that community colleges prepare, it is very challenging to secure grant funding to initiate, grow, or improve technician education programs, or to get that updated equipment that Ann Behaler mentioned. That's where Mentor-Connect comes in. Mentor-Connect can help community colleges secure their first NSF ATE grant, and we have other mentoring services and technical support to help prospective ATE grantees no matter what type of ATE proposal or level of funding a college is seeking. Mentoring is an effective way to stimulate knowledge transfer, share best practices, and improve outcomes, especially in the ATE program that has created a community that willingly shares. With the number of projects that the ATE program funds each year, an incredible amount is being learned about what works and what doesn't in technician education. Mentor-Connect guides technician educators through the grant proposal process and helps prospective grantees leverage ATE program resources, know-how, and networks. What really makes this work is our Mentor-Connect mentors. These mentors are highly experienced ATE grantees, some of whom have been NSF program officers, who give back to the ATE program by helping those who are new to ATE learn to prepare competitive grant proposals. Mentor-Connect technical assistance and instruction is coupled with the opportunity to be mentored by someone who has personally been down the path many times before. This is a photo of our most recent mentor cohort. They are the engine that makes Mentor-Connect work. Their knowledge, experience, and selfless dedication to the success of prospective grantees is what has made Mentor-Connect successful. The Mentor-Connect support system is made up of 3 parts that are delivered both face-to-face and online. We help educators develop good projects and competitive proposals for the ATE program. We select mentors and prepare them to assist both potential and funded principal investigators. And we work with faculty leaders of each project, called PIs or co-PIs, to develop leadership skills that improve project outcomes. It is our expectation that some of these new PIs will one day become mentors. When selected to participate in a Mentor-Connect cohort, your team is assigned a mentor. This mentor will be your guide throughout the proposal process and submission process. This slide outlines what your mentor will help you do. In summary, all levels of Mentor-Connect support are designed to bring more two-year colleges into the ATE program, to diversify the NSF ATE program both geographically and demographically, to encourage colleges to seek additional funding and stay engaged with the ATE program, and to grow a new generation of STEM faculty leaders to advance technician education. Now, I will turn it over to Osa to explain mentor cohorts and activities. Osa?
Thank you, Elaine. I'll start by telling you that a new cohort joins the project every fall, and that will soon become welcoming cohort number 8. Each cohort usually consists of 20 college teams, and each team consists of up to 4 individuals. At least 2 of them are faculty members, and up to 2 others can be additional faculty, grant writers, or college administrators. The faculty members are the individuals who will direct the project if it's funded. In NSF terminology, they're the principal investigator or the PI and 1 or more co-PIs. The team from Central Oregon Community College in the photo is one of many that includes the PI, the co-PI, and also an administrator and a grant writer. The mentoring process begins with a 3-day winter workshop in late January or early February, with the next one scheduled for January in New Orleans. This is when the teams get together with their mentors and the Mentor-Connect staff to learn the essence of what's involved in developing an ATE proposal. The teams come to the winter workshop with concrete ideas for the projects they plan to develop. We allocate ample time for them to work with their mentors and to begin shaping those ideas into fundable proposals, and to develop plans for working together via conference calls and email exchanges. During the next few months, we offer webinars that focus on various parts of proposal development. They provide technical assistance that sees the teams through specific tasks like developing the budget and filling out the required forms. You'll hear more about the webinars from Elaine. Each summer, we host a Mentor-Connect workshop in connection with the annual High Impact Technology Exchange Conference, or HITECH, which in 2020 will be held in Portland, Oregon. Many of you probably already know that HITECH focuses on community college technical education. 2 members of each team meet with their mentors and Mentor-Connect staff for a full day, and they're invited to participate in the conference, which begins the following day. And you'll hear more about the content, of both the summer and winter workshops later in the webinar. Last but not least of the benefits listed on the slide are the wide range of resources on the Mentor-Connect website and the help desk support from our staff. You heard a little bit about that from Anne, and you'll hear more from Elaine later on in the webinar. This slide tells you about the financial support that's available to our teams. The project reimburses the travel and hotel costs for the winter workshop at up to $1,200 each for the PI and one co-PI. Summer workshop also offers up to $1,200 of reimbursement for travel and hotel costs for the PI and either a co-PI or a grant writer. We're eager to welcome grant writers who by this time have a critical role in the proposal development process. We encourage the teams, especially the PIs and co-PIs, to participate in the high-tech conference. It's a great opportunity to learn about innovative STEM programs and to expand contact networks. To that end, the teams may apply any of the reimbursement allowance that's not used for workshop expenses to hotel and meal charges during high-tech. We've learned how valuable the grant writers and administrators are in the proposal development process, and we try to encourage the teams to bring up to 2 such participants to the winter workshop. Our budget doesn't allow us to cover their costs, so we ask the colleges that want to include them to pay for their travel and their hotel expenses, as well as a registration fee for administrative expenses, meals, and materials. Almost all participating colleges are eager to do so. We also welcome grant writers and administrators at the summer workshop, but we realize that it's more difficult for the colleges to allocate travel funds for a one-day event, and that's why we offer to reimburse the expenses of a grant writer as well as the PI. On a personal note, I mentor 2 teams each year, and I find the involvement of the grant writers and the administrators just invaluable. The photo shows my 2018 mentees from North Iowa and South Arkansas community colleges at one of our workshop sessions during their winter workshop. The South Arkansas team included a grant writer, and the North Iowa team included a grant writer and the college administrator who serves as these project-sponsored research officer, or SRO. That's the project title for it, and the administrator who follows the work of the project on behalf of the college and also has a key role of submitting the proposal to NSF. Their contributions during our workshop sessions were really impressive. Neither team would have accomplished as much as they did if only the PI and the co-PIs had participated. We recognize that the grant writers, the SROs, and other administrators who attend the winter workshop have specific interests that need to be addressed. So we offer separate tracks that deal with their concerns during part of the workshop. At other times, they participate along with their faculty in the regular sessions with the full staff and in some important work sessions with the mentors. They receive a full packet of proposal development resources at the workshop and ongoing access to all the resources on the Mentor-Connect website. We know from their evaluations that these participants value the workshop experience. Grant writers especially appreciate the opportunity to learn firsthand about the ATE proposal requirements and to develop a working relationship with the mentors. We found that most of the colleges, most of the colleges that participate in Mentor-Connect are eager to cover the costs of sending grant writers and administrators to the winter workshop. But we also recognize that it may be impossible for some colleges to do so. To the extent that we can, we try to help those colleges with the expenses. And that's something to keep in mind if you do join Mentor-Connect and if you plan to come to our workshop next January. Now I'll turn you over to Ellen, who will talk about eligibility for Mentor-Connect.
Thank you, Osa. So who is eligible? We've talked a little bit about this. So we're looking at 2-year community and technical colleges are eligible to apply for the Mentor-Connect cohort opportunity. If you've never received an NSF ATE grant, if your institution has never received an NSF ATE grant, or if it's not received grant funding in the past 7 years. So if you're unsure of your college, whether or not you've received a past ATE award, you can check with your college's business office, or you can also search NSF's awards database through their website. So you would go to NSF's website, you would do an awards search, you would click advanced search, and then you would enter the program element code 7412. And we can put that in the chat box. And that would limit your search only to awards in the ATE program. And you would then enter your college's name and check search expired awards. And if a past award comes up, You'd know if your college had one, and you can check to see if it has been 7 years since receipt of that award to determine if you're eligible. And the 7 years is based on the initial award date and not when the grant ended. So if you're eligible to apply, Mentor-Connect is seeking STEM faculty teams that are working to prepare technicians in STEM fields for the U.S. workforce that align with NSF ATE program areas. So again, look at the solicitation. Applications are limited to 1 team application per college, and we do this to ensure that we can provide the best assistance to your team, and your college is not then competing against itself in the ATE grant competition once grants are submitted. We encourage submissions in STEM technician education discipline areas, again, that are relevant and of interest to NSF ATE, cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, biotechnology, just to name a few. And we strongly encourage applications from rural colleges and underrepresented STEM faculty. So OSA talked about the workshops a little bit. We do offer 2 technical assistance workshops, in-person workshops, where teams have the opportunity to work directly with their mentors. And so I'll provide dates and a little bit more information on that. As you can see here, the winter workshop, which kicks off the Mentor-Connect mentoring period, will be held January 29 to 31 in New Orleans. And this is a great opportunity where we go through and we help you develop these grant writing skills, and we share tips for being competitive in the NSF ATE program. You have designated time to work with your mentors. As OSA showed you on that slide, we do a lot of team time. And then a highlight of the workshop is the mock panel review session. And this is where participants have the opportunity to read and review and be privy to actual NSF ATE proposals and reviewer comments that were submitted by prior Mentor-Connect cohorts. So our prior attendees share their proposals, both funded and non-funded, and the reviewer comments. And our current teams going through have a chance to look at those, and we run you through the exercise of reviewing that proposal as if you were on an actual panel for NSF. Learning what reviewers look for and comment on in a proposal and reading actual proposals is an invaluable experience, and it's really designed to strengthen your team's proposal development efforts. And we consistently get great feedback from participants on the value and impact of this exercise at the meeting. You will also develop leadership skills. It is faculty leaders that drive the ATE program. And the workshop, as OSA talked about, also includes a special session for grant writers and administrators. So your primary team, again, would be the 2 faculty members, but 2 additional staff are eligible to attend, including a grant writer and or a supportive administrator, and our most successful teams have historically included additional team members. So the summer workshop, so Mentor-Connect reconvenes the cohort again in the summer to attend the High Impact Technology Exchange Conference, and this is put on and organized by the ATE Centers. You can see it'll be held at the end of July in Portland, Oregon. And in addition to having the opportunity to attend the High Tech Conference and network with currently funded ATE projects and centers, we strategically hold it on the front of this event, so you have that opportunity. Mentor-Connect provides a 1-day workshop on the front end of this conference to allow more dedicated time to work with your assigned mentor. We provide additional grant writing and technical assistance, a check-in at this late July point to help you get over the October finish line. And then we also share advice and guidance with you from prior Mentor-Connect mentees who are there that have successfully gone through this program and been awarded an ATE grant and are now ATE PIs running projects. So we invite them to High Tech, to the Mentor-Connect workshop, to share their experiences with you as well. Now I'll just give you a couple of snapshots from the meetings so you can get a sense of the community. This was from our winter workshop in New Orleans. So getting ready to do some presentation and team time. These are a collection of photos. Part of the workshop is also developing an elevator pitch, so really having a concise statement of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and who it's going to impact, the who, what, and why. And then this is also reporting out from our mock panel review activity. So you'll see we work hard, but there are smiles. We do try to have a good time as well. So it really becomes a good, close-knit group, and you get a wonderful face-to-face and high-touch activities, technical assistance activities working with your mentor. And now I will turn it over to Elaine to talk about our success data. Elaine, I don't know if you're on mute.
Thanks. Thanks, Ellen. Just got that magic button pushed. In a few weeks, we will be selecting college teams for the 8th Mentor-Connect cohort. We think you will be interested in some data from previous participants. The map on the screen indicates the breadth of Mentor-Connect impact through the first 7 cohorts of participants. Very few states have not had at least one team participate. If you reside in one of the gray states, you can change this map with your participation, and we hope that you will. In the past couple of years, it has been wonderful to have teams participate from Puerto Rico and Hawaii, literally taking ATE from sea to shining sea. You will notice that in addition to serving 143 teams and 300 STEM faculty from colleges in 38 different states and 1 U.S. territory, we have had 170 grant writers and administrators participate. On this slide, the first 3 bullets are about participant success. Across all cohorts, 86% of colleges submitted ATE proposals. As Ann Behaler pointed out earlier, success rates for funding vary each year and are dependent on several factors. Even so, each year, the funding rate for proposals in the small grants for institutions new to ATE funding track are higher than for other types of ATE proposals. This is one of the reasons we encourage everyone eligible for this funding track to prepare this type of proposal. Teams participating in Mentor-Connect typically submit strong competitive proposals, and most who submit proposals receive funding awards. For Cohort 7, as you can see that 88% of Mentor-Connect participants submitting proposals received funding awards. Since 2012 and across 7 cohorts, among those submitting proposals in the small new to ATE track, the funding rate has been 73%. Some participants submitted proposals to other funding tracks and were not successful. Next, you may wonder about your chances of being selected for a Mentor-Connect cohort. We typically accept about 2/3 of those who apply. For those not selected when they first applied for a Mentor-Connect cohort, they have ended up being selected when they reapplied the following year. Reapplications are not treated differently as cohort teams are selected, but for those who are interested, we have offered help in drafting a stronger application the second time. You may be wondering about the application that you will need to submit to be considered for a Mentor-Connect cohort. This slide outlines what we consider most important. First and foremost, you need to have a project in mind for your grant proposal that you believe will advance technician education. Keep in mind that ATE is a workforce development program. Producing technicians that industry needs in your area is the goal of the program and thus impacts funding decisions. Addressing documented industry needs is a common element in successful ATE proposals. So starting with an idea based on the knowledge of what your industry needs makes Mentor-Connect applications stronger too. Next, ATE wants proposals to be faculty-driven. This means that your faculty should believe in the idea and want to do the project. Faculty with appropriate experience and qualifications can explain in detail how a project will be structured and implemented at your institution to benefit students and industry. The more engaged faculty are in crafting the project, the more likely the project is to be funded and successful. In applications, we look for indications that faculty are excited about the opportunity and will be engaged fully in this process. We also look for college and administrator commitment to support the faculty team in this endeavor, as well as an institutional commitment to submit an ATE proposal. This screen tells you how to access the Mentor-Connect application. Oops, I think I've gotten ahead of myself. I mean behind. Let me move ahead. There we go. The application is located under the Get a Mentor tab at the top of the home page. There are only 2 components, and if you have any questions about how to submit a complete and competitive application, just give us a call. Our goal is your success. Now, Emery will review the selection process that Mentor-Connect uses. Emery?
Thank you, Elaine. I'll have an overview of the selection process and the criteria. As Elaine just had said, the deadline for applying for Mentor-Connect is Friday, October 11th. All colleges will be notified whether accepted or not on Friday, November the 9th. Even if your application is not accepted into this cohort, you'll be able to have the opportunity for a one-on-one consultation with a mentor to discuss your project and other resources available. The selection criteria, once again, you will begin with an electronic application, which is available on the Mentor-Connect website, which is www.mentor/connect.org. Make sure the application is complete. There are 2 parts. The application itself and a required affidavit from an administrator supporting the faculty team and project. This is important to make sure the administrator understands the commitment to submitting an NSF ATE proposal, because this is expected. We want to make sure that your college is eligible. Just as Ellen had discussed early on who is eligible, and Mike had put up in the chat box of where you can go to on the NSF site to check that award search with that. And make sure your idea is clearly focusing on technician education. Once again, we want to make sure that that your STEM faculty are from a supportive area of the ATE community. It's emphasis on advanced technology education. We want you to note that if faculties are not required to have a doctorate degree, we do prefer a full-time faculty. And it is important that the faculty time needed for this new experience is readily available. We do also look at geographic diversity with efforts to help the ATE program reach areas that are a bit underserved, and also look at demographic diversity of the faculty participants and students, once again in efforts to involve and serve more diverse populations. So the initial expectations, what will happen is you will receive an acceptance letter that has a lot of very important information, so you need to read it thoroughly. You will then need to register for the winter workshop, which does come around pretty quick with the holiday break and the end of fall semester. If declined, a mentor will meet with you and you'll sign up for a time to discuss the project and your next steps. Your mentor will contact you early in December, more than likely, to introduce themselves and to also make sure that both of y'all know what is expected to be prepared for the winter workshop. Also, we want to encourage you to ask questions. If something's unclear, please ask the Mentor-Connect staff or your mentor. Next, we have resources and just-in-time help. Mentor-Connect offers a variety of resources. As you can see, in the Mentor-Connect resource library, you will find a curated collection of items that are specific to grant writing, NSF, and the ATE program. Some content comes directly from NSF publications, but to help you, we have extracted the portions of an NSF document that you will need. Actual ATE small grant proposals are available as examples of funded projects. There are timelines and checklists to help you along the way to grant submission. And there are more than 100 frequently asked questions that have come from people like you seeking answers about the NSF and ATE grants. A special feature is a glossary of terms to help you make sense of the acronyms that NSF and the government terminology that is used that sometimes is hard when we're all going through all of our acronyms for you. All of this is readily available and searchable on our website. So to review what Mentor-Connect will offer is we have our website that shares best practices, 200 plus resources that are freely available, readily accessible, relevant, and searchable resources that inform and contribute to competitive ATE grant proposal development and submission, FAQs, a glossary of terms of all those acronyms I've been talking about, and a help desk. As Osa and Ellen spoke to earlier, we have workshops once in the winter and the summer. The winter one is usually the end of January, the beginning of February, and the summer is in July. That is in conjunction with High Tech. We have technical webinars that are free and offered at a live time where questions can be answered on the spot, and then they are archived on our website for anyone who wishes to view. There are also excellent tutorials that help break down the information on the webinar. So now I'll turn it back to Elaine to discuss the opportunity of leadership development within Mentor-Connect. Elaine?
Thanks, Emery. In addition to securing funding to improve technician education, colleges and faculty benefit from the STEM faculty leadership development that occurs among Mentor-Connect participants. We are finding through evaluation and research on current and former project participants that faculty leaders are demonstrating new or strengthened leadership skills beginning with the proposal development process and continuing through project implementation and thereafter. Some who started with Mentor-Connect as new to ATE grantees are now implementing their third ATE grant, and some are on the track to become mentors. Leadership development results in this process from essentially problem-based learning. As the faculty develop projects and prepare proposals and implement projects, they are being called upon to learn and do things that just are not part of a normal faculty workday. They work with departments they haven't worked with before. They make new friends across campus as they need the help of others that they've never needed their help before. Shipping, receiving, personnel department, business office, and so forth. And it really expands the faculty beyond the classroom and those normal faculty roles. And then we have a special leadership track that helps faculty, once they become successful ATEPIs, to become mentors to others. This graphic is designed to guide you as you move forward in pursuing ATE funding. I realize it's a little bit busy, and it is one of the handouts that you can download for today's webinar. We just wanted to sort of point out to you where Mentor-Connect is to help you along the way and to support your efforts no matter which path you take towards ATE funding success. The first point I wanted to make is that we really do not want you to apply to Mentor-Connect this fall and submit a new to ATE proposal in October this fall. In 2019 October, you should not be putting in both an ATE proposal and applying to Mentor-Connect. That actually you think it might enhance your chances of getting one or the other, but the reality is if you get both, it puts you in a difficult position to be successful in ATE funding beyond that first grant, because you will have to spend your Mentor-Connect grant development time working on a project to go into the projects track, and one of the key ingredients of success in the projects track is results of prior support. And if you have just gotten your first new to ATE grant at the same time you're trying to prepare a proposal for the projects track, you simply have no results to report, and therefore that proposal is going to struggle to be competitive. Participating in Mentor-Connect cohort first is likely to improve your chances of funding success. In addition, what Mentor-Connect teaches provides a solid foundation for future funding success. However, It is not essential to participate in Mentor-Connect to become an ATE grantee. Many Mentor-Connect resources and support services are readily and freely available to all potential ATE grantees. As your graphic shows, Mentor-Connect offers aid at multiple points along the pathway. So if you submit a proposal and it's declined, then we have our second chance mentoring opportunity to help you rework and resubmit a proposal. If your first proposal, new to ATE proposal, is funded, then we have moving up mentoring available to help you write a competitive proposal for the projects track to move up. So almost any pathway you take, we want it to lead to funding success, and Mentor-Connect is here to help you along the way. Once funded by ATE, you are encouraged to seek additional funding. The ATE program encourages you to view your first ATE grant as a starting point upon which you build. You can continue your work on technician education by staying connected to the ATE grantees, using ATE-developed resources, and seeking additional grant funding to fuel future innovations and improvements. However, there are modifications in strategy that are needed to be successful in securing your next larger ATE award. As mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, too many new to ATE grantees who try for a next grant are not successful. They don't know the nuances of the changes they need to make to move to that next level. So Mentor-Connect Moving Up Mentoring can help you craft a stronger proposal for the more competitive ATE projects track. The other time that I mentioned where community colleges get discouraged and often don't persevere is when an ATE proposal that they have submitted has been declined or not funded. Decline letters are heartbreaking. Even so, data show that those who persist by reworking and resubmitting declined proposals are often successful. Mentor-Connect has mentors who specialize in helping you rework first or second declined proposals. This is called second chance mentoring. Again, our goal is your funding success along one of these pathways. The last thing I will mention today is the Mentor-Connect Mentor Fellows Program. Mentor-Connect selects a few successful grantees each year to engage in a year-long internship program to become Mentor-Connect mentors. This is an excellent professional development activity and one that enables you to give back to the ATE program and help others, just as others have helped you along the way. Now, Mike, let's take some time to answer questions participants may have.
Thank you, Elaine. As long as you're on the floor, let me start with this question with you. These Mentor-Connect teams, their composition, one of the questions is, can there be an industry member? You know, they have an industry partner who's acting as an adjunct. Can they be part of the Mentor-Connect team?
Yes. We do caution about adjunct faculty only because we want you to give serious consideration to that person's commitment to your college and the anticipated longevity of being with you. It's very disruptive to projects if your co-PI or whatever leaves during the project. It happens sometimes and can't be avoided. But if you've got an adjunct faculty member, particularly one out of industry with that valuable real-world experience and know-how, and who's dedicated to your program and to your students, and they can be very good team members, and we'd be happy to have them. We do think that the principal investigator, however, benefits from being a college employee. There are just some things that the principal investigator needs to do, purchase orders that need to be initiated, and various things that only college employees can do. And so it's very cumbersome if the person leading a project does not have access and isn't able to do some of those things. But it does not it doesn't hurt your eligibility. But if there is adjunct faculty in an application, we do look at it. We look to see whether it we think that the principal investigator is a good, strong college, permanent college faculty, and and in your application you can say something about your adjunct faculty's longevity with the college or commitment. There's some questions on the application that let you tell us some things like that.
Okay. I have a second question for you, as long as you're still up. It has to do with the comments that you made about not applying for Mentor-Connect and a small new to ATE in the same year. Could you restate those reasons? And then the second question is, what if you have like two groups of faculty at the same college? One is applying for Mentor-Connect and the other is applying for small new to ATE. Is that okay? So the double question there. So tell us about that again.
Okay. So what we've discovered, we have had people do this. This is why we've given it a little bit of thought. If you apply to both and you don't get the new ATE project funded, then there's essentially no harm done. You're in Mentor-Connect. We'll help you write a competitive proposal. You will have already done a great deal of work for the one that you submitted that wasn't funded, and everything works out fine. But because the funding rate for the small new to ATE is pretty high, sometimes those proposals get funded. And if they get funded, and this would apply, Mike, to the second part of your question, it's the college that is at issue here and not the individual teams. So if another team gets a new to ATE, the team that's in Mentor-Connect working on a new to ATE can't submit a new ATE. The college is then no longer eligible in that category. So you then are forced to move into the projects track. And the projects track is, first of all, far more competitive. You're going up against people who have been very successful in submitting these proposals time after time. And the very first thing that you have to report in those proposals is results of prior support. And if you're trying to build a grant proposal in the first few months of implementing your very first grant, you simply are not going to have any results of prior support. And without that, that really does hurt you in terms of competitiveness on this second proposal. So it really sort of closes some doors rather than opening some doors. So we really think you should do one or the other. If you do both, you do both, and those are the consequences if it plays out that way. But so we're just trying to guide you, trying to give you our best advice about how to move forward to be successful.
That's good. That's good rationale. Thanks, Elaine. Here's another question. As you can tell, a lot of interest in the program. So the first question, or one of the first questions, is, as you look at whether your college is eligible, there's that 7-year rule. Does it apply within a department? That is it based on the college, or what if you have two different departments within the college, one of which has gotten an award and the other one hasn't? How is that cut?
It is the college. However, if your college has multiple branch campuses, a branch campus that has its own chief academic officer is eligible on its own. So if it's just if you just have one college, one campus, one administrative system, and you've gotten an award in one department, then another department in that institution would not be eligible for the new to ATE until the 7-year mark from that first proposal award date. However, if you have a branch campus of your college, that branch campus is eligible.
Thanks, Elaine. Now let me turn back to Ann Beheeler for a question. Ann, a couple of questions. Let's take this one first. Just came into the chat window. You mentioned picking the right program track is critical. So where's my best source of information about doing that? And you'll want to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I had to go do. Sorry about that.
Yes.
The solicitation is the best place to go to read that, and read the solicitation very carefully. I know I said that before, but I'm going to say it again. Read it very, very carefully. There was another question that came up that I actually answered during the chat box, or with the chat box, regarding financial limitations that seem to be conflictory for new to ATE programs and planning and pilot grants. Well, it turns out the planning and pilot grants are in the targeted research area. And you really probably, that would be easy to mix up, very, very easy to mix up. But read the solicitation, read it very, very carefully. If you have any questions, I would suggest that you ask the program officers, or you can ask one of us at Mentor-Connect. You can ask me, or Elaine, or anybody else on this call.
Good, thank you, Ann. Here's a follow-up question, sort of like how do you best position yourself for success here? What if your college belongs to that group called the Advanced Technology Centers, the ATCs? Do you think that would position you well for a grant, or would they would say, oh, wait a minute, you're already an ATC? How would a reviewer view that?
Well, I think it depends. ATC is a separate designation, and you could certainly use it to talk about the capabilities of the college and the ability of the college to pull off whatever you're suggesting that you're going to do in the proposal. However, they're really not the same thing. It's not a center with the National Science Foundation, and it also depends on how much you're really doing with the ATC. I know that some colleges are very, very active in their ATC programs, and some are not.
Okay, good. So there's nothing very specific there. It could help them, but it isn't necessarily a help in that sense.
Right, and it's definitely not a prevention mechanism. If you have an ATC, they might, I mean, it's not going to be, oh gosh, they have an ATC, so they can't have a new to ATE. They're different things.
Okay. Let me turn now back to Ellen. Ellen, a question came in. Can I write one of these proposals, one of these grants, to host a workshop? Like this person has a makerspace, they want to do a workshop on their makerspace. Is that feasible? Is that possible? Ellen, I'll mention that you're on mute still. So what, folks, let's come back to Ellen in just a moment for that question. Let me go ahead and ask this question of OSA. OSA, does a faculty member need to have approval from their institution to participate in Mentor-Connect?
The quick answer is yes. We need institutional support because the purpose is to develop a grant proposal which will require the support of the college for whatever commitments are made on behalf of the college in that grant proposal. So we do ask for a statement of support from a college administrator.
Okay, so that is a requirement. A second question about faculty
Yes.
participation, OSA, and I know this comes up all the time. Can faculty get extra pay for being on these grants? They're doing a lot of work here.
Well, that depends on the policy at the college. If the college allows overload as a matter of policy that applies to all faculty, then someone who is working on a grant can carry an overload because of grant responsibilities. But it very definitely has to be college-wide policy, and that has to be explained in the grant proposal that this is something that is allowable.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Here's a question. Let's turn back to Elaine. Elaine, who actually submits the proposal? It also sort of referred to that, but could you elaborate? Does the faculty member send it to the NSF themselves? How does it work?
The submission process is actually a two-step process. The first, you upload all of your grant proposal components into FastLane, preferably, or there is another grants.gov option available. We talk a lot about that in Mentor-Connect and why we encourage you to use FastLane. But when FastLane, you submit the, if the faculty member actually is the one that submits the grant proposal, hits the first submit button, that grant proposal does not go to NSF at that point. That grant proposal goes to the sponsored research office or officer at the college that's set up in this FastLane system. So it essentially just goes to someone else at the college. That is the administrative oversight of the submission process. And so that SRO, the person entrusted with that responsibility, then reviews the proposal, decides if the college is indeed going to hit the button and send it to NSF. And there are some electronic commitments and electronic signatures, if you will, that are required at that point for the proposal to actually go to NSF.
Okay, good. Good. That's clear. Thank you very much. Let me throw this question to you that I had asked Ellen. A person wants to do workshops for their makerspace. Is that the sort of thing you could write a proposal about?
If you tie this to the preparation of technicians for the workforce, and if the work being done in the makerspace is tied to technician skill sets that your industry says they need, absolutely. There have been any number of good, strong ATE projects that have incorporated makerspace activities, but it can't just be an activity for a lot of people have maker spaces that are just to sort of entice people to be interested in STEM or in technology. You have to have an end game that's a little bit more closely tied to workforce development mission of ATE to incorporate it. But if it's incorporated well into your proposal with that end game in mind, those are perfectly legitimate activities.
Good. Thank you, Elaine. We're almost at the end of our question and answer period, folks, so here's your last chance to put anything into the chat window. Let's turn to Emery. Emery, people got excited when you said that there was a help desk. When is that thing open? Do you mean there's actually someone who will answer the phone when I call?
Yes, Mike, there will be someone in the Mentor-Connect office, which is located at Florence Darlington Tech in South Carolina. We will have someone, that someone is usually myself, or it could be the communications and technology specialist, Tanisha Ferguson, who would answer some of those questions. If a question cannot be answered, I find out the answer and get directly back to you, so you will not be without an answer one way or the other.
Well, that's pretty good. That's a great response. Thanks, Emery, for that. Appreciate it. Elaine, I'm going to turn back to you for the final question for today, and we want to certainly acknowledge Anne and Ellen and our other co-presenters, Osa and Emery as well. Folks, on the screen it says, here's some linkages to connect with Mentor-Connect at fdtc.edu. That's the email address, and the Facebook or Twitter feeds are shown there. Remember, you'll get these slides again, so if you don't have to furiously write these things down. We just want to acknowledge the Mentor-Connect grant that helps provide all of these resources today. You can see the NSF grant numbers, the DUE number, so we want to acknowledge that. Elaine, here's that final question. You mentioned, I think, I had a little running log here. I think you mentioned that these should focus on technician education, preparation of technicians. You must have said that 4 or 5 times today. But suppose I'm struggling to fill my program with students. I want to reach into my high schools to encourage those students to come to my community college. Is there room for that sort of project in the ATE program?
Absolutely, Mike. And those types of projects are encouraged. It just needs to be a clear pathway. You can be working with the high school teachers to help them better understand the programs at your college and the career opportunities for the students who engage in those technician education programs at the college. You can bring the high school students to the campus, so you can do things with them on some of your equipment to get them interested and to help them understand some of the technician career fields. So many of these technologies today, Mike, are careers that just didn't exist a few years ago. And so your dad didn't do it, your Uncle Bob didn't do it, your Aunt Susie didn't do it. So how are these young people to know about some of these exciting new advanced technology careers that are available? A project that helps them connect with some of today's opportunities and with the programs at the college and help smooth that pathway and encourage them to come. Those are very good ATE projects.
Follow-up question on that for Anne. Anne, you mentioned that the leadership has to be led by a community college, so obviously not a high school, but does the principal investigator, Anne, have to be a community college person?
Oh my, that could be subject to interpretation.
Yes.
I guess my point is that the ATE program is not targeted specifically at high school. It's targeted at high school as a pathway into additional education and preparation for technicians to go into the workforce. I'm going to have to say I'm not sure about that. I know it used to be that the PI had to be with the fiduciary, meaning the college that was applying, but I know that there has been some diversion from that over past years based on capability. But I guess I would suggest contacting a program officer unless somebody else on the call knows. Sure. Elaine might know.
As Anne said, it really, sometimes it just depends, and sometimes you can be eligible for an ATE grant but not eligible for Mentor-Connect, simply because Mentor-Connect is a capacity building program for two-year colleges. But we have actually had teams in Mentor-Connect that were made up of a community college faculty member and a four-year university faculty member. We have had high school faculty or CTE directors and people like that be co-PIs on ATE grants. So it really depends on the person's involvement, their credentials, their interest, in how you lay out your work plan that convinces reviewers that this is going to work.
Yeah, I would say if it's a new to ATE grant, it would be require quite a bit of explanation to convince the reviewers that the PI did not need to work with the college, because one of the things that someone mentioned in the in the presentation today is that there needs to be some full-time person that can get things done at the college that is the fiduciary agent, because there's a lot of paperwork that has to get initiated. So I guess if I were mentoring a group, I would say I would not suggest having the PI be from the high school on a new to ATE grant. But, who am I? That's my opinion.
That's good. I'll point out that one of our colleagues in the chat box mentions that they have an ATE grant as a nonprofit, and that they, of course, are eligible for ATE. They meet the eligibility criteria, and their PI works for that nonprofit. So, as you say, Anne, there's a number of different ways of making this happen.
Right.
And Mike, I'll give you one situation where there was a new to ATE project that had a strong high school component, and in the negotiations for that grant award, this team was asked to make this high school person who was going to be working with them a co-PI.
Oh, good idea. Interesting.
So yeah, so I think doing so actually shows
Sure.
a higher level of commitment from the high school. So incorporating them as a co-PI, I think, would be a really good idea.
And I concur with that. I think that's a great way to do it. I just think it would be difficult for the main PI. If the grant is based at a community college, I think it would be difficult for the co-PI to actually be at a high school.
Thank you, Anne and Elaine, for those comments. Colleagues, I'm going to now wind up our webinar for today by posting the survey, and I know each one of you will not run away without taking this survey. So I'm going to launch this survey. I'll still be able to talk to you. This is opening in a new browser window. You should see it come up. It says the Mentor-Connect survey. There's just 4 questions here. So as we're completing that survey, let me make some final acknowledgments here. And by the way, some older Macintosh systems, the survey will not launch. I'll take the survey URL and place it in the chat window. I'll do that now, and you can access the survey from there. That helps us improve these presentations as we go forward. I'd like to thank our panelists today. Elaine Kraft, of course, as the lead program person at Mentor-Connect. Thank you, Elaine. And Ann, thanks very much for giving that perspective on the NSF programs today and the opportunities that exist for community colleges. So thank you. Also joining us today, Osa as a mentor. Osa, we appreciate your insights and your service to the Mentor-Connect community. And Ellen from the American Association of Community Colleges and all the work that they do to support the ATE program. And finally, Emory. Emory, we hope that your help desk gets flooded with phone calls. Well, at least I hope that'll happen. Perhaps you don't hope that'll happen, but let's hope that we use those resources, including your help desk and everything that you've mentioned today. So colleagues, this officially ends our webinar. Remember, it has been recorded and the recording link will be sent to you along with a link to allow you to access the slides as well. Thanks for joining today. Please fill out our survey. See you on the next Mentor-Connect webinar. Goodbye, everyone.